ninka Somali ka bool aniga wadano Somali ahaan maanta ku wadana qabiil xataa kuma wadano Somali ahaan ku wadana oroma tahay nigaasna ka dhamaaw
dhalinyarada matala Somali Cowboy
laakiin SYL ki saxda ahaa waa kana oo marka la dhashay
sida aawadeed anaga wax walba ay sameeyaan dadkaas aaminayno yani waa ka dhagatirnaa waana ka indhatirnaa yani indhaheena ma arkaan dhageenna ma maqlaan Somali Cowboy waxa ku leenahay hadaan ummadda Soomaaliyeed guuleyso hoosh
up the mountains and do it that way. Because God is God, it, doesn't matter what name you give him, but he's the same guy. Or she's the same woman, I know Barbara is like, what are you talking about? Can you say that in Somalia? No, I can't. But I'm just trying to, I guess. I know most of my friends don't agree with this, but...
It's true. Annie, this is a convention of radical people.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته أدبن دي سلامي صاحبيا يوتيوب كا هدي تامرك كوباد السوب بوغتين سبسكرايب سيبهان موقال خلاي قري الله أكو شرفه صدي شرفته هدو موقال كينو محوك سابسيحي محاكا سوكرني كيسكي Somali Cowboy oo imika 24 saacadood ee u dambaysaa la soo iftiimiyay magaciisa dhabta diinta uu haysto iyo sababta uu Soomaalida u soo dhaxgalay Somali Cowboys oo magaciisa dhabta ah ee kiriisadaha iyo gaalada u hortago loo aqoonsan yahay waa Cabdi Iftiin haddaba Soomaalidii ayaa taageero buuxda u muujinaysa iyagoo ku difaacaya gaalnimada uu buujiyay
waaye Somali Cowboy wax walba ay sameeyaan way kari waayeen meel walba u sameeyaan ugu dambeyn waxa uu sameeyay diinta Islaamka sida aawadeed anaga wax walba ay sameeyaan dadkaas aaminayno yani waa ka dhagatirnaa waana ka indhatirnaa yani indhaheena ma arkaan dhageenna ma maqlaan Somali Cowboy waxa ku leenahay hadaan ummadda Soomaaliyeed guuleyso hoosha haysana ku soo saaxiib anagana garabkaaga nahay waxa sheegto waa maqalnaa aragnaa aasana aaminayna waxay dadka sheegaan wax aan ka aaminin haw yaraatay ma jirto marka baraada guuleyso hor u soco hool fiican haysa ummadda Soomaaliyeed meel fiican ugu jirtaa guuleyso saaxiib macaan gurigoodin daana dhalinta Soomaaliyeed haasatan garabkaaga na baraada
Soomaalidu waxay ku difaacaysaa qabiil ahaan waxay ku difaacaysaa in uu ka soo hadlo Soomaaliya
joornaalada ka soo baxo Afrika iyo kuwa Carabta waxa maanta aad
Soomaaliyana uu difaaco isagoo la jihaatamaya Itoobiya war walaalayaalow ba isweydiiseen ninkani aad ku difaacaysaan Soomaalinimo caanimada halkuu ka soo bilaabay wuxuu ka soo bilaabay inuu loo tariga Ameerika u xareeyo Soomaalida
kan kula hadlaayo Somali Cowboy oo aniga ah barnaamijka lootriga ku imid tariiqdeeda dhalinyarada qaar waa ugu sheekeeyay 2013 ku guuleysan uu kan joogo
waayo sanad kaste waxa la soo bandhigaa lootriga Ameerika ninkan wax kasta ku saabsan imika la boodaa kolba in la soo bandhigayo waxay runaa Ilaahay baa nago balse Soomaalidii kala bari maanta waxay ku leeyihiin diinta halka ay naga dhigo anagu ninkaas gariye kartaraba waanu wadanaa subxaanallah muuqaalka laga soo galiyay ee uu gafayo diinta Islaamka iyo sidoo kale Ilaahay baa gadaal bad ka daawanaysan dambiga weyn ee uu galay dad fara badan bay weydiinay codadka waa la soo jarjaray bal waaye muuqaalkaas ila dhamayso
dagaal weyn qarxay oo u dhaxeeyo wiilka la yiraahdo Xuseen Jaamac oo yiraahdo inuu asaga isku sheegay inuu dambi baari yahay dad badan oo horanay maaragtay dagaal halkan ku dhaxmaray iyo wiil la yiraahdo Somali common malaha waa asagana maalmaha dambe aad loo wadwaday oo dadka Soomaaliyeed special dhalinyarada ay ku taageerayeen inuu yahay nin Itoobiyaanka maaragtay aad u neceb oo Soomaalida taageero dawladda taageero oo mar walba maxalli Itoobiyaanka weerar ku qaado labadooduba dagaalkooda meel xun u gaaray midna Soomaalinimada laga saaray midna diinta dhameeda laga saaray Islaamnimada waxa kormeerana Xuseen Jaamac wuxuu soo bandhigay isaga markii hore maleena inuu gacan qaadka markii hore dagaalka bilaabay wuxuu soo bandhigay wiilkan la yiraahdo Somali inuu markii afka Soomaali ku hadlay Soomaalida la hadlaayo iyo markuu dadka Mareykanka jooga la hadlayo afka Ingiriiska ku hadlayo inay kala duwanaansho badan ay jirto cadaymana waa soo bandhigay fiidiyooyo oo af Ingiriis oo ka hadlayo wareysi oo hore u bixiyay iyo waliba inuu sheegay maxalida inuu ka shaqeynayo kaniisad oo weydiinayo maxay tahay kaniisadda shaqada ka shaqeynayso wuxuu kala soo bandhigay fiidiyo oo wiilkaan leeyahay waxaan ku daalay kama maaragtay mar walba arkaa nabi nin ah way looga dhigi waayay nabi naag loo arki waayay ilaahay muxuu nin u dhaqdo waxyaabo saas oo kale diinta qatar ku ah fiidiyooyo soo bandhigay wuxuu leeyahay marka ninka aslanba muslim ma ahan sheekada Itoobiyaanimadana waa ku qaraabanaya dhanka kale Soomaalina asagana wuxuu yiri wiilkan ninkan Somali ma aha asal Soomaaliyada ka saar Xuseen Jaamac waa nin Oromo ah Itoobiyaan oo shaqeynaya wuxuuna diidan yahay midaanta Soomaalida iyo shaqada aan dhalinyarada Soomaalida u haayo hadii aad sirjin gareysid ninka magaciisa Somali waxa ku soo baxaysa dhalinyaro badan oo ka hadlayso especially dhowr sano ka hor xataa dad ay isqabsadeen ee magaalada isla degiin Mareykan gobolka isla degiin dad la degan isqabsadeen waraysi isaga bixiyay fiidiyooyada lagu haysta qaar kamid ah dadka dib u soo qaadanayaan wax badan oo laga hadii aad rataan fiidiyooga wiilkan lagu haysto uu ku hadlaayo arrimaha diinta kale lagu haysto waa idin soo dhigaya part 2 dhanka kale Xuseen Jaamac oo kale asaga wuxuu sheegay inuu dambi baari yahay asaga naftirkiisa xogaa yar waxa moodaa inuu qabiil ku jiro sababtan qofkii rabo waan u soo sheegaya oo ratacadeyn in rabto Xuseen Jaamac inuu dambi baaridiis naftirkiisa oo ku saleeyay qabiilnimo oo xogaa yar dadkan daaroodka ahayn kaliya uu dabagalka ku sameeyo oo waliba aan la arkin qof daarood oo dabagal ku sameenayo waayo dad badan oo dabagal ku sameeyo ka yaa wiilka Maxamed la yiraahdo shaqaalka ah Ashraf oo asagana shaqaala yaa kala dad badan ay ahaan laakiin wiilka loo cad ah asagana dadku way badnaayeen laakiin qof daarood kuma jirin dadku dhan oo dabagalka ku sameeyay taala socotaan waana nin asagana dhanka kale markii loo fiirso dowladda mucaaradka mar walba xad Sheekh Maxamuud weeraro dowladda inayada soo bandhigo mar walba dowladda mucaarad ku ah halka ninka la yiraahdo Soomaaliya oo taageero dowladda ka laakiin marka hadii imaado Soomaalinimadu dowladda gooniya noqonaysa mar hadii diinta imaadana Soomaalinimada way ka baxaysaa meesha waa wax diinteena ka muhiimsan adiga idaawanayo Xuseen Jaamac iyo Soomaali ka yaa kula qaldan noo sheeg hadii aad ratid fiidiyooga Soomaali waa soo dhigay kan Xuseen sidoo kale sawaa asagana had ku haysano fiidiyooga hal shirkare adres kitaabta meel ku gaarsiin salaam
and do it that way because God is God. It, doesn't matter what name you give him, but he's the same guy or she's the same woman, I know Barbara is like, what are you talking about? Can you say that in Somalia? No, I can't. But I'm just trying to show you how open I am. I'm so tired of every prophet being a man or every God being a man, stuff like that when woman is the one who gives birth to us. So that's my just little Somali, little radical stuff. I guess. I know most of my friends don't agree with this, but...
It's true. Andy, this is a convention of radical people here.
I love it.
Yeah.
We've all gotten in trouble for something, right? Religious, I think. We have all.
I think we're killing each other mostly on religion because there's a lot of false narratives that's just everywhere. We don't really even know. I mean, to me, I grew up Sufi, Barbara, like you said. And the Sufis are extremely peaceful. They like to dance. They like to eat together. They like to date, go out and, spending nights and nights together up around the cemetery area. I mean, that's the religion I understand. Everything else that comes after that is just, to me, unimaginable. I mean, I don't know. I don't understand Al-Shabaab's Wahhabism. It's something that I can't belong into. But then again, I think if we think it creatively, things come up, right? I think a lot about why is God man? Why our mother is, our woman? That can not be answered by anybody at the moment, I guess, because we have nothing Christian, Jewish, Islam, whatnot. But I think it's really, really good to question things. I think what kills humanity is they don't question stuff. I don't think God, if he's a man, that he will hate me for saying this. It's just questioning. And if it turns out that it's not true, well, then let it be, right? But there are folks who would just say you can't question it because that's not okay. And I think, in my personal view, I would disagree with that.
Yeah, I think a life of faith has to start with asking questions, right? And even cross-culturally being curious about what are you doing? Why are you doing it that way? And what does that mean for me? And what does God look like here? We have to be able to ask questions. And I absolutely think that asking those questions is, that's what grace is for, right? Like, we're human. We have no idea what God is actually like. I mean, we have ideas. I shouldn't say we have no idea. We have some idea. But we have not seen God, you know? And so can we have a little mystery, and can we ask a lot of questions and be open to experiences? I think we have to.
There's a wonderful theme, I think, in the books that are on the table tonight, and it's replacing fear with curiosity. Think how often that has come up in what we've said. And Rachel, at one point, you asked someone, what do you love most about being Muslim? Or what do you love most about Islam? And that was an assignment I gave college students, you know, to interview someone of another faith and be sure, like, what is your favorite story from your faith? What do you love most about being, you know, of your faith? And then what is the most common stereotype, the wrong impression people have of your faith? And that, I loved reading those papers more than anything I ever assigned. And it was all about replacing fear with curiosity and asking positive questions that would elicit people's love for their traditions.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite conversations, to hear those stories. And I could just see in my friend's body even how much surprise she felt that that's what I was going to ask her. And then her delight in telling the stories. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to audience questions now, and we have a few already. And if you're watching and have a question in your head that you haven't put in the YouTube chat yet, please do it now. So make sure that we see it here. But I'm going to start with a question from Ron. It actually seems of a theme with what we were all just talking about. For Rachel, was there a mutual desire to move the other to convert you to Islam, or maybe a desire to change their view of Jesus? I think this is sort of starting to speak to the curiosity angle.
Yeah, so I would often, even still now, when I'm walking, I hear people say Shahadeh, Shahadeh, which means say the Shahada. And the Shahada is the Islamic creed, like the statement of faith. There's no God but God, and Muhammad is the prophet of God. And so, yeah, people have definitely wanted me to say that. A lot of times it's just a kid on the street who's kind of giving me my attention, which, like Abdi said, you know, maybe that woman was just trying to get my attention. And I've even had kids throw stones at me, which initially feels very aggressive. And sometimes, to be honest, it is aggressive, but often it's just trying to get my attention. And so, yeah, there's that urge. Or, you know, I'll be at the gas station and the man pumping my gas will say, hey, are you a Muslim? You should become a Muslim, because they love their religion. They're satisfied in it. And so there is the sense that, hey, you should love what I love. Or, you know, even more so in friendships, actually, people who do care about me and have a real relationship, they want me to love what they love. And I find that an honor, actually, when they want me to become a Muslim. And yes, I also love my religion. I love Jesus. I love being a Christian. And so I do want people to love what I love. I think that's part of a relationship. And if we're not being honest about that, I feel like we're not quite being transparent about what we do love. You know, so I feel like when I'm so grounded in what I love about my faith, that allows me to receive someone else's kind of offer of entering their faith with an openness and a willingness to say, you know what, I respect that. I understand that you appreciate that, but I'm really satisfied with where I am. And so, and I just feel like that's a real honest response, instead of just trying to shut it down, or to say, you know, I don't really care if you know Jesus the way that I know Jesus. I don't think that's honest either. And so yeah, it's both ways, and I find that actually really honoring.
Great. We have one from Dudley for all these authors. Do the authors feel like their faiths have been cracked open to embrace something bigger? Take that and run with it.
Yeah, I hinted at it, but I remember when I was in a church and serving a church, that someone got just so tired of going over the same things in sermons and Sunday school and said, I want my faith to help me transcend my faith. I want my faith to be bigger than, only my community. So part of the great gift of teaching world religions was to have my certainties about many, many things challenged, broken, dropped. I had to have a rummage sale of what I would keep and what would go. And I even ended up radically in my tradition saying, Jesus never told me to love my religion. He told me to love my neighbor. And so if it comes to a choice between my neighbor and my religion, I choose my neighbor. That's the teaching I have received. The top of my head, the top of my certainty exploded. Thank God.
Yeah, definitely bigger faith. To see that God is here too. A lot of Christians have this idea, American Christians, that they're going to bring God someplace. Like a missionary who's going to Somalia. I'm bringing God here. And you know what? God's been here from the very beginning. God's been active and involved in people's lives. And so to see that my idea of what God looks like in Minnesota it's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing for Minnesota, for my community, but it needed to be bigger than that. It needed to include the global body of faith, of all kinds of faith. And it needed to recognize that God is active and present and a part of other places with or without me. That I'm not vital to God being God in the world. So a bigger faith, a bigger understanding of what it looks like, what I'm a part of even, that's, I think, been a big part of my expansiveness of growing the sense that I'm a part of something outside myself that's across borders and across specific practices, across, Catholic, Protestant, Baptist. I had definitely grown up in that same idea, Barbara, that you referenced earlier, of the divisions even within my Christian system. And so, God transcends those barriers.
When I read the Genesis and the Exodus, it's amazing, I think, as we learn more about the other religion, how more connected you are, yourself and your faith, to this other faith. And in other words, it all leads to one path. Now, if you're only one dominant faith, it more feels like sort of like scattered and the other one is more distant. But then again, it all comes together as you really learn more, about the other faith. So I've purposefully taken Christianity classes. And believe it or not, it was one of the most exciting classes that I've really taken. It's not boring. Thank God, because I think I grew up in a dominant Muslim. So, everything we talk about really makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of similarities when we talk about Moses, for example, and the Pharaohs, those stories. It's like, wow, I learned this in Arabic and in Somali, and now it's really interesting to see it this way. So with that, as you grow, as you learn more, as you earn more knowledge and understanding of the other faith, the more you really fall in love with humanity itself, right? Barbara, you said your neighbors, right? Your neighbors don't necessarily have to be from the same type of sect or faith or whatnot that you believe in. But at the end of the day, it's more like, well, if you're a Christian and I'm a Muslim, the thing that's bigger than all of us is just God. We all are going one direction. I don't have any way why I don't have to associate with you. I feel like we're in the same, in the same place. We're just divided a little bit by, things that you believe, particularly about Jesus, and things I believe about Muhammad, or, some other ways. And then at the end of the day, it's just bigger. It's all like we're actually all one, created by the same God and go in the same direction. So why not hold hands and lead together?
Another that makes me think a little bit, Abdi, about even how looking at Islam and Muslim faith has expanded my own idea of Bible stories. So one of the women that comes into the book is Hagar. And I've always read Hagar through the Christian tradition, which is actually Jewish because she's in Genesis. But thinking about the role that she plays in Islam made me go back and look at her story more, and it expanded her story and who she was as a character. in her naming of God and in the promise that God gave her for her son. And in that way, I feel like my faith expanded. And so also the Bible stories that I grew up reading here, they just came alive. So through that, like through Hagar, but also through, life here just looked a little bit more like probably it looked in Bible times than a Minneapolis massive city, And so in ways of seeing Bible stories come alive right before my eyes, I was literally in the market and a woman, a beggar, a widow, she was very poor. I was helping her and she had no money except for 2 coins to give for, it was supposed to be for her bus fare. And a beggar came up to us and she gave her coins to this beggar. And I remember the story from the New Testament where Jesus said that the widow comes and she gives her 2 coins and Jesus says she has given more than everybody else. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is my faith coming alive. And so in that way, I feel like my brain exploded to see these things actually happening in front of me and across time. And so that's been really, really powerful.
Well, I think we have time for one more question, actually one more question and one very specific question just for Rachel. Rachel, do you have a Christian house of worship where you live now, or do you just do it on your own? That's from RS.
Yeah, now I do have a church that we attend. It's been a little bit different over the years. The work week here is Sunday through Thursday. And so Friday and Saturday is the weekend. And so church for a long time was on Sunday night. And it was in French and it was at the end of a work day and it was exhausting and it was hard to go. So sometimes we would go when the kids were little and sometimes we didn't. But now we've actually started an English language service that's on Friday morning. And so it's at a church building downtown. Djibouti allows for 2 government-approved public places of worship. There's a cathedral and there's a Protestant church. And so we attend the Protestant church. And it's a huge mix.
What